peace and goodwill. Being in harmony with God, the first cause, and all divinely inspired souls of goodwill, we believe and bear witness that there is no other God except the one God, and we choose to behave accordingly. Being in harmony with God and all divinely inspired souls of goodwill, we believe and bear witness that nature is the ultimate messenger of God, and we choose to behave accordingly. Being in harmony with God and all divinely inspired souls of goodwill, we greet you with the intent to promote and enjoy peace, goodwill, and human rights. Being in harmony with God and all divinely inspired souls of goodwill, may peace, goodwill, and human rights prevail throughout the earth and universe. ISA, Inspired Souls in the Americas, feel it is necessary at this time to share 7 observations concerning COVID-19 and true colors. The reaction to COVID during the past 2 years has revealed the true colors of many in the Americas and across the earth. Observation number 1 is the revelation of the true colors of many so-called religious people. The vast majority of religious people who, prior to COVID, professed a desire to go to heaven, suddenly, at the arrival of COVID, decided they actually preferred life on earth over eternity in heaven. Most churches, mosques, synagogues, temples, and other congregations show their true colors and quickly shut their doors as their fear of COVID outweighed their faith in God. Observation number 2 is the revelation of the true colors of most government officials. Prior to COVID, most government officials, especially here in the Americas, touted the sanctity of individual rights. However, since the arrival of COVID, most government officials, showing their true colors, have disregarded individual rights and embrace incremental totalitarianism, hiding behind a facade of public health concern. Government's illogical tactics of prescribing fear-mongering measures and mandates to combat a virus which has a 3% mortality rate should cause reasonable people, rational people, logical people to ponder the ulterior motive of governmental tactics, measures, and mandates. Is COVID being used to distract citizens from more important issues such as economic disparity, UFO manifestations, environmental pollution, and destruction? Observation number 3 is the revelation of the true colors of many employers who also, prior to COVID, touted individual rights and off-duty privacy of productive, law-abiding employees. Now, since the appearance of COVID, these employers are forcing productive, law-abiding employees to make, quote, choiceless choices, unquote. Showing their true colors, many employers are forcing employees to choose between feeding, sheltering, comforting, and building a future for their children, or injecting an experimental concoction into their body, into their DNA. Are employers considering the effects, short-term and long-term effects, that such psychological rape may have on their employees who are forced to make choiceless choices and abandon their free will and dignity? Observation number 4 is the revelation of the true colors of many heretofore self-proclaimed free thinkers who support pro-choice. Blatantly displaying their true colors, a large segment of citizens have eagerly accepted their role as approval junkies since the advent of COVID and have sheepishly submitted to the control freaks' tactics, measures, and mandates. Whether vaccine shaming or stooping so low as to actually ridicule or celebrate the illness and death of those who choose not to be swindled, hoodwinked, bamboozled, bribed, coerced, cajoled, or forced to submit to the governmental or capitalist control freaks. Many in the mainstream media and social media, and even within friendships and families, have shown their true colors during the vaccinated versus unvaccinated false flag fiasco and foolishness. Doesn't each individual have the right to choose whether to inject a substance into his or her body, his or her DNA? Observation number 5 is the revelation of the true colors of those who, prior to COVID, portrayed themselves as rational, reasonable, logical people, but during the past 2 years, actually accepted the irrational, unreasonable, illogical notion that 6 feet distancing could lessen the possibility of coming in contact with an airborne virus. Why 6 feet? Why not 3 feet or 12 feet? Will the airborne virus dissipate or evaporate or settle somewhere before you move 6 feet into the space where the possibly infected person was standing or coughing or sneezing or breathing or speaking? Is it reasonable, rational, or logical to inject an experimental concoction into one's body and DNA, especially after it has been proven not to prevent the infection of COVID, as the government and pharmaceuticals promise it would do? If a person has not been infected with COVID during the past 2 years and then inject the vaccine recently, is it rational, reasonable, or logical to credit the vaccine as the reason you are uninfected? Or is it more rational, reasonable, or logical to credit your natural immunity as the reason you remain uninfected as you have during the past 8, 9, 10, 12, 24 months? Does the answer to these questions reveal your true colors? Observation number 6 is the revelation of the true colors of some parents who jeopardize their children as guinea pigs to be test subjects for the pharmaceutical companies and for their children to be used as experimental guinea pigs for a pseudo vaccine. Being that current children vaccines prior to COVID pseudo vaccine were studied and tested on adults for 5 to 10 years before injecting children, the true colors of some parents, the NIH, the CDC, the pharmaceutical corporations, and scientists who use children as guinea pigs are plain to see. Observation number 7 is the revelation of the true colors of a large percentage of the worldwide populace that has so readily and obediently surrendered to fear and exposed their vulnerability to fear-induced compliance. COVID has not only revealed the true colors of fear-induced compliant citizens, but also the true colors of governments, scientists, pharmaceutical corporations, and other entrepreneurs seeking to profit from COVID, who exploit fearful, compliant citizens. If COVID, with a 3% mortality rate, can induce such fear so as to make 70% to 80% of citizens so compliant that they will surrender their individual rights, their bodies, their DNA, their reason, their logic, and their dignity, then how much more easily and fervently will such citizens comply if something more lethal, more threatening than COVID was released upon the population by governments, corporations, or private organizations seeking to be the ultimate control freaks? If COVID has exposed the true colors of so many, then should such exposure give us some idea of how people will react when the next fear factor, fear-mongering episode arises? Or when governments issue future mandates to destroy individual freedoms? Could COVID be a false flag dry run to see how easily the people will comply in the future if the government or others intend to subject them to ultimate control? Remember, once people show you their true colors, do not pretend to be colorblind or ignore what you see. As COVID reveals the true colors of many, and we await what may be coming next to threaten or dehumanize or depopulate humanity, ISA, Inspired Souls in the Americas, invites insightful individuals to be vigilant as we unite and pray. Our Creator, the first cause, who is within us and around us, hallowed be your infinite identity. Let your blessed society come Let your loving will be done on earth as it is throughout the universe. Thank you, Almighty God, the first cause, for letting us be. Peace and goodwill.